as independent musicians, you do get quite a bit of control over what you do these days. So you can record at home, you can distribute your own material, you can go out and do gigs and organise all that yourself. Today we're talking to some people from the independent film industry, which who face a whole different range of challenges, and we have a great chat with Steve and Lucinda. But look, if you do like what you're seeing in these shows, please subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything. Just click the little button and you'll get to know when new episodes come out. If you have a story to tell, you're from our local gig economy, just email me at aussielocalandlive@gmail.com. I'll get back to you. Finally, if you really want to help out, stick your camera on the QR code there. It takes you to a tip jar on my website, and every bit helps. 100% of that comes to me for the show. So if you can help out, that would be great. Anyway, here's a chat with Steve and Lucinda about independent filmmaking. Hey guys, as you know, I've been having some really fun chats with people right across our gig economy. And recently there's been some artists and photographers and lots of musos, of course, which is my backyard. But today I'm really excited to be talking to a couple of friends who are in the independent film world and the acting world. Okay, we've got Lucinda Bopf and Steve Stubbs. How are you guys?
Hey, Nick.
Good.
We finally got going here. With my technical genius, we've had a few false starts, but we're up and running this time. And people just can't stop calling Steve. He's such a popular man.
It's typical. So typical.
Now, Steve has a company called Pacific Island Films. And Lucinda is an actress in herself. And she also has a production company called WeBop Productions. And we'll get it. There's a lot of similarities, I think, between independent musos and independent artists in the film sector, where a lot of the times we're trying to do 10 things at once and figure out how it really works and doing it all without a budget. And we have that similarity between us all. But you guys successfully completed a project together just recently called The Passenger. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, a short film that we shot here in Brisbane about an Uber driver who cheats on his wife and lives to regret it. So it was a story it'd been buzzing around in my head for quite some time, and I finally put it on paper. And I had a local screenwriter named John Banners here in Brisbane who came on board at the end and cleaned it up for me and turned it into a nice little script. We got some terrific actors, 3 wonderful actors on board. And Lucy directed it, did an incredible job, helped me produce it. And it's been doing the rounds of the film festivals. It was a finalist at the Busan International Film Festival, and it won 3 awards at a Brisbane Film Festival.
Awesome. So when you say a short film like that, how long is a short film?
This was 9 minutes all up, including the credits.
And how long does that take to produce and like film from the time? Obviously, you got the writing time. That can be how long's a piece of string. But by the time you actually go into production, edit it, and get it out ready, what's that time process?
Gosh, it was 12 months at least, right?
Yeah. Well, because we shot it over, I think, 3 days or 3 nights rather, because it is mostly set at night. And then we kind of got an initial edit, within a month or so. But there was, there's always a lot of things to do with a film. And I think so that was my first, directing gig. And you kind of, I guess you don't realize how many things you're kind of on the hook for in terms of directing. So you're not just directing the shoot, you're directing like pre-production and things. And then you're directing the edit, and then you're directing music. I'm sure there are people that hand these things off to other people, but I'm not that person. I was like, yes, please consult me about everything. So it did take about 12 months to get it.
From an outsider looking in, I imagine I've always thought that the job as a director in a film project is like the ultimate project manager. It's like you've got all the different levels, all different people that you have to oversee everything at once while also maintaining a creative drive. Is that fair enough assessment?
I think I've encountered different levels of directors. You'll find there are people that talk about are you like a filmmaker's director or you're an actor's director?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of actors who become directors are very much more actors directors. So they're the ones that you see, on a set who are like watching the performance and going, okay, let's go again. But, think about this when you're speaking to her and have a bit of, whereas there are other directors who are like, yeah, you do the acting thing. Yep. Cool. You do that over there. And they're very much more like, I want the camera here and I want the angle and I want the movement and I want the vibe. And they're a little bit more on the tech side. So I tried to be a balance of both, which, like you have said, is kind of the ultimate project manager and means that you are very like just having to be everywhere on everything.
So this is your first directing role. So what have you been involved in other productions in other areas of the filmmaking process?
Yeah, so back in 2022, a friend of mine put up a project because, as actors, we're very often, as an actor in terms of casting and whatever, you're kind of late in the process if you're just an actor. You're kind of relying on someone else having a production that needs you and that person finding you and so it's a lot of kind of waiting around. So we sort of had, a lot of us have said, all right, let's make our own stuff. So yeah, a friend of mine put up a project where we filmed 12 short films in 12 months. So one a month.
Wow.
Yeah. So if you want to, I can't recommend it as a as a process.
For sanity, from a sanity point of view.
Yeah, I think I had a lot of like, stomach issues and anxiety and probably, hair loss and stuff that year. But it was a very, very great way to learn on the go and go from having not a lot of production experience, just having made a couple of little shorts here and there to, getting one a month for 12 months.
So look, guys, some of my questions here are going to be super naive because I don't know about the industry. And I know a lot of people who will watch this don't know much, and basic questions come to mind. And obviously, when you're doing projects like that, they cost money. You've got equipment. You've got all those things like that. Getting the finance together for that type of stuff, is that what you focus on, Steve? Is that your end of things?
On that one, I was the executive producer. That ended up coming in around 15,000 all up because I wanted to make sure that everyone that got involved in it was going to get paid.
Yeah.
And, there was a lot of money spent on equipment, renting equipment and a truck. We had one of the guys showed up with a big truck, full of gear.
Mm-hmm.
It was very professional set. We had lots of crew and we had 3 superb actors who Lucy worked with the actors for weeks ahead of the shoot. Yeah. And they knew when they got to set, they knew what was required of them. They knew, the character they were playing. And that helped a lot as well. That's why we could do it over the 3 nights.
So when you go out and you raise money for that project, then are you looking for, do you get it from private people or is it from funds and is it something on those projects? Is it something that based on they get a commercial return or they're doing it to support the art? Where does that come from?
On that project, I funded it. And I'm using that film now as a calling card to get other projects, and to show potential investors.
So from a music point of view, it becomes like your demo track in a way.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of musicians have to record their first album and pay for it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Lucinda, I guess, as an actress, being able to know how to do production properly, it makes it easier, I imagine, to create your own vehicles then rather than just relying on other people's projects. Would that be right?
Yeah, 100%. I think that's what pushes a lot of actors into doing these kinds of things and broadening into other roles within film. Because, otherwise you are just waiting by the phone a lot. But it's a really good exercise in learning how the process works.
Yep.
You can pick an actor who has worked on the other side of the camera on set because they they know what's happening around them. You know, that there's a lot of like, what would you call it? Like set etiquette, or just an understanding of like, that person has a job and that person has a job and I have a job. And if someone tells me to stand in the frame, then I don't walk away and start having a chat with someone or make myself a coffee, because I know what they're doing. I know why I'm having to stand there and wait for them to light the scene and stuff. So it helps a lot with that.
Yeah. So, and when budgets are tight, I guess that type of professional efficiency goes a long way for the reputation of saying, well, yeah, that you're kind of cost worthy to work with in a way.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So, who worked on the project with Peter Couples? My mate Pete.
Oh, we both did.
Yeah.
Okay. What were you doing with Peter?
Peter had written a musical.
Yeah.
Once in a Lifetime, it's called. And he was setting up for a rehearsal out at QPAC in one of the rehearsal rooms there. And Lucy and I came in and filmed it. And then he was showing that finished video to potential investors. There was an audience there.
Yeah.
But it was an incredible experience.
Okay. How'd it go? How was it all received?
Oh my God, it was just insane. The music is unbelievable. It really is. It was
Peter's
fantastic.
an amazing artist, so I haven't seen what he's been doing with the musical, but looking forward to that. So do you know if he's got that heading towards a production, like going live, or
yes, it's moving along. I'm not sure exactly where it is, but I know he's met with various investors. It's going to be a live show initially, you know. And where were the performers were from a college or a uni, weren't they? Were they from Griffith?
It's from Griffith University. They used to be called like the Con, you know, like the Conservatorium. It's the musical theatre degree. I can't remember what they call it now. There's like some umbrella for the school that they're in, but they're all like amazing. Impressive.
Yep.
It'd be a great opportunity for those people to be working with Peter too, because like from his career, particularly coming out of Melbourne back in the day, and even a coach on The Voice and everything else he's done, he's a real deal about all that stuff. Now, Lucinda, with your WeBop Productions, you've got a series coming up called Serial Killer Anonymous. Is that right?
Yeah, Serial Killers Anonymous
is this based on friends or anything? Or?
Yeah, it's a personal story. Gosh, I wish I could tell you what was going through. So my like co-writer, co-producer, co-director, co-actor, Suzanne Webcke, she and I just a little bit like we were talking about before, you know, necessity is the mother of invention, or insanity in this case. You know, we sat and thought, what can we make that we can put ourselves in, that's going to be fun, that's not going to be a drain, and kind of try and break into a new kind of area. Because like actual produced content, like scripted content on social media or on verticals, you know, like the stuff you watch on your phone, it's a bit of a newer area. So we thought, why not? And so we've written, it's 7 little short episodes with a whole bunch of bonus content in between, about a support group for serial killers.
So is it fair to say, like comparing to the music industry, obviously it's become a lot easier to produce music and to actually get out there with the technology. In the music side, it's become harder and harder to commercialize it because there's just a tsunami of stuff coming out there, and we've lost so many income streams from like CD sales to all those physical things. In the film industry, I'm assuming that the equipment and technology and those type of platforms do make it easy to get content made. Has it become easier or harder to commercialize it?
I mean, it's kind of, I think it goes both ways, right? You could say it's harder in the sense that the traditional pathway is not as clear, but also that wasn't always accessible to everyone. Like, I'm not going to walk into Paramount tomorrow and say, hey, make my thing, and like, you know, I want them box office sales. So, you know, there is an avenue, but yes, I think, and it's probably similar with music, there's almost like an expectation that people can get content for free, so why would they pay for it? And you sort of have to, I mean, we're fundraising for this one to get it made, because we could shoot it just on iPhones because it is vertical for TikTok, but we want it to have, you know, production value. So there will be cost involved, but in terms of commercializing it, there are options within, you know, TikTok and YouTube to monetize. But it's almost going to be like a free sample, proof of competency, even, you know, to then take that to funders and networks and whoever else is the people that do monetize and do commercialize stuff, and say, hey, we made a thing. It's had this many viewers. It's really popular. And I think musicians are doing a similar thing on socials, right? You know, putting out little clips and samples and things, and building things that way.
With film projects, I'll go the other way. From the music side of things, while there's opportunities there for independent artists to develop things, when it comes to like prop government support and things like that, the government has no idea whatsoever about the realities of the music industry and how that works, and they see us as a poor cousin industry that they just don't know how to help with. And it's one of the points there is it's a very decentralized thing. Everyone does their own projects, and it's hard to really work with the industry. Obviously, in the film sector, you got governments do get involved in a lot of the bigger projects with incentive programs for investment and returns on investment. Does that flow down to independents at all, or is it you're out there on their own without any government help?
I think very rarely that it flows down to independence. You know, the local state agencies should be helping give a leg up to the local independents if the project is of a high enough quality, but they don't. You know, they invest in people and projects that are already established. So that's frustrating.
Does that mean when they invest in projects into supposedly our industry, does most of the money that's generated from it, does it stay in country or does it go overseas?
I think they have some, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, I think there's some, at least Screen Queensland, I don't know so much about Screen Australia, there is some stipulation about having to keep some percentage, let's say 80% of the work within Queensland. So it's like, whether that's your cast and crew, whether you do the edit locally and then maybe you have a little bit of leeway to go interstate to get an actor or a composer or something like that.
Right. So taking in consideration the fact now it's probably easier to make production and projects with new technology. You've got to do a lot of the backing yourself. There's not really stuff flowing down to independence. As people working in this space and doing these projects, what would you like to see happen privately, government-wise, within the industry to make your industry more viable?
It's a big question.
I tell you, my experience over many, many years of knocking on doors at Screen Australia and the state agencies, there's a lot of strings attached to money coming from government, and in a lot of cases it can damage the end product. So it's I don't know, it's one of those things, you're almost better off in the end just trying to raise the money yourself and do it yourself.
Right. And look, that's the important question, because hopefully there will be people here who might see this and look and get in the film industry and hearing comments like that from you that saying, well, that's probably the most efficient way to raise money privately yourself. They're little, as I said, naive questions in a way, but little bits of information that hopefully help people get rolling with what they're doing. Because you can spend a lot of time wasting effort trying to get grants and different projects and all that. And if there's other ways about going about it or that are more practical, mate, I think that's important knowledge to share. So thanks for that. What about the acting world, Lucinda? Is it how vibrant is that for you? How much potential is there for you to develop there compared to the production space?
Look, I try and stay in a positive mindset where I can. You know, the reality is there is a lot of stuff being made. You know, there's a lot of need for actors, but it's a pretty big pool. You know, there are a lot of people. And I think this industry in general has a tendency to reuse, you know, talent and crew and whatever who they feel are legitimate. So it's kind of like, I mean, it's kind of like people getting into the workforce, right? Where you apply for an entry level job, but they want you to have 5 years experience already. Yeah. So a lot of actors that I talk to and we talk about this is like, you're like, I've got to get my first couple of legitimate credits, because after that people go, oh, you're not a total psycho, obviously, because you've booked some jobs and gotten some stuff out. So we can trust you. But it's getting those first couple of things. And then even then you're not really, there's no guarantee of future stuff. But yeah, I mean, there's just, there keeps being new stuff being made. There's a lot of obviously commercials being made as well. A lot of actors will, you know, we're all wanting to do the legitimate drama roles and the fun comedy and whatever, but at the end of the day, the commercials are what pays and what continues to get made no matter what. Ad money and
And the other, I guess that hasn't really changed in the acting world across decades. It's always been a matter of getting enough under your belt to get that credibility up where you're a product that people want to have and you're your own brand. The upside, I think, of some of those projects, too, I'm talking to a friend of mine next week who was actually spent most of his life working globally as a roadie and, you know, working for in the music industry as a roadie. And he's actually working full-time now on set designs down the coast. And, nice. As he's aged, he's sort of been able to move into that space and do things. So I think that the talent side, you know, whether it's actor, musicians, or the people on front on stage, it's always going to be that hard thing you got to get across. But at the same time, hopefully, while that's all you're working on that, it does create other jobs in other areas around the industry. So my assumption is in Queensland, some of those bigger productions and those extra type of jobs, it's quite a healthy scene. Is that right?
Yeah. So when they bring the big productions out here, you know, there's a fair bit of work. It is mostly extras work. You know, there'll be maybe a few speaking parts that they're willing to offer to local talent. Interestingly, I wasn't much involved in the industry pre-COVID, but my understanding from talking to people is when they could bring more people in from overseas, interstate, whatever, they did. And then when they couldn't, because borders were shut and things were really difficult or whatever, they had to hire local Queensland hires for stuff. And that actually, bizarrely, because the rest of the industry was just kind of shut down, everything else was shut down, they started having to use Queensland talent. And there are some schools of thought that opened things up a little bit to trusting or at least sampling the local talent and going, oh, okay, you're not just, you know, knuckle draggers and, you know, you actually have good training here and you have, you know, something to bring to the table.
I lived in Los Angeles for a few years and had friends in the film game over there. And I think it was right that any speaking role you had to have a SAG card to be doing that over there. Do we have an equivalent here? Do we have an equivalent here? Do you have to have anything particular to get a role?
No, you don't. We have we don't have a union per se. We have the Media Entertainment Arts Alliance, which I think also covers musos. It's sort of, yeah. I mean, entertainment as an umbrella term. But they're more of, like a guiding body. They're not, I think the guild is hard to get into, but it's also one of the things that makes acting a living, give you a living wage, get insurance, whatever you need, medical insurance in the US. We don't so much have that same issue.
Obviously, the big monster sort of hanging over everyone's head, most people don't know where it's heading to. What's your thoughts on where we're going with AI in the industry?
It's interesting. I've seen it. I've seen it used in a couple of different ways. It can be used to, for example, salvage previously unusable audio, for example. So like something where you would have to go in and do ADR, which is where the actor comes in, watches themselves on a screen, watches their lips moving, and like dubs their own lines back into the film. And that costs money, right? You've got to come back in or you've got to reshoot. Whereas with AI learning and stuff, they're saving tracks and stuff like that, which that is cool. That's a good use of it. But yes, if it's like coming down to someone could scan my face and they could hire me for a day to just walk around and stand there, and then all of a sudden I'm in 50 movies in every crowd scene. Yeah, not ideal. So yeah, I think those are the protections. The protections from stuff like that is what people are
do you think we will? Do you think we will get protections for that?
Again, positive mindset. I would like to think that we do. Yeah, I think at the end of the day, that's, you could argue that that's like misuse of my labor, or not to be too dramatic, but it's a form of like having me do work without me paying for it, without paying me for it. Sorry. So
well, your image, I would have thought there must be a way that your image is such, as in images in like your actual look or who you are, has to be a copyrightable entity. I mean, but in the past, it's always been that way. Even you use people in a short film, you've got to have them signing waivers saying you can actually use them, right?
Yep.
So you would think of falling into that. Steve, you got any thoughts on that space?
I see Amazon is throwing tons of money at AI, and I think somewhere down the road, it'll get to a point where you can get onto Amazon and say, I want to see this actor and this actor and this actor in a drama detective series or something, and then it'll just create something for you. That's a worry.
The sad part is I was talking to a friend of mine the other day who's come out of the recording industry, and we're talking about a few of the changes in music, and I was saying to him, what when you're talking to young people coming through, what's your advice to them? And he sort of said, don't do it, find another job.
Yeah. Well, there's albums
kind of sad.
out, right? There are AI albums out there right now that are popular.
Yeah, but it wasn't even just about that. It was more also about like running a studio with so many people thinking they can make albums in their bedrooms, and sort of that forces the prices down on studio costs and what you can make. What you would have charged 20, 30 years ago for your skills have been pushed right down, and that's happening a lot with performers as well. And me, I'm actually have a different mindset. I think that we forever encounter changes within our industries, and even in music, going back to the early 1900s when music first came out on the cylinders, the cylinders instead of records, before records, and they came out. And you look at the old news articles from back then, and people were saying it was the end of the music industry, because who's ever going to go out and listen to live music anymore when they can hear it in their lounge room? But the thing is, people still love music, and models evolve and new things evolve, and we have to change the way we do things, and we have to change it. But people keep loving music, so we have to keep finding what the new model is that allows us to be able to do it as a job. And I'm hoping that my positive take on that is we will find something moving forward that will make the industry better. We just don't know what that is at the moment. And I'm guessing, I'm hoping it's the same for the film, all creative sectors really, that we can find those new models. And I think, particularly, listen to what you're doing with that, like the vertical services, how you're putting stuff out there. You're out there on the forefront, obviously exploring what these new models are. What are the new ways to run your industry? And that's why I think this independent space is so important, because that's where we will discover the new models before they become something that the big companies jump into. Is that something you'd agree with?
100%. Yeah. And it's funnily enough, Suzanne and I were joking about, because we did go to one of the screen bodies, applied for, what do they call it? A grant or a funding, we applied for funding essentially for their online, arm of the funding model or whatever. And we talked about the fact that even that was, they'd only ever funded, I don't know what they're funding this time around, they haven't announced it yet, but they'd only previously funded YouTube for the digital. So doing something, for TikTok, like, as the first port of call, not just YouTube, and then we might cross-post a few clips on socials. Designing it for TikTok was actually quite new. I'm not saying we're the first people to ever do it, but and yeah, I mean, if you're a big company or a big funding body or whatever, maybe that's not reliable enough for you. So we are forging ahead with it. We're going to do it independently. And we were joking that season 2, they'll come back to us and be like, oh, hey, do you guys want some funding for this? Now that you've shown that it's okay, and you're the test monkey, and we'll send you off to do the thing and see if it works. So yeah, I totally agree with that. I think it is independents who are at the forefront trying things out and seeing what sticks, and then the people with the money then come in later and go, okay, yeah, we're cool with this now.
And that's where my hope is that, Steve, going back to you talking about funding of independent projects, how it's more efficient often to get that from private funding. I totally understand what you're saying there. My only wish from a government point of view is that we would get people in government who are more aware of the value of digital content, whether it's music or film. It's the most consumed product in the world. And the new evolutions and the new things that happen are going to happen at the grassroots level, where you get that, you need that fertile ground of where things grow. Not everything grows to be a big tree, but a lot of the new ways of doing things will come out of that fertile grassroots area. And I would like to see them investing in more things like independent projects and things like that, even if it's got a caveat that, you're putting this project out to explore what can happen on the different layers of digital outlets or different things, new models, looking for new models. And I think if they could look at our industry in that way and say, well, as a creative nation, if we could be looking at these new ways of doing things in the new economy, that would be good if they could invest in that, with the caveat that, they retain a small ownership of everything if the project goes forward or something. I don't know what that looks like. I'm just talking off my head here, but I'd like to see that type, them looking at our industry as more of like they'd look at any other resource sector. You got to do the greenfields exploration first before you can get to the big mines. And you lose most money on the greenfields projects, but that's where you find the real valuable product. And I'd love them to look at our industry like our gig economy, our creative industries like that. But it's a hope.
Yeah. Give us a bit of R&D money, research and development, like big companies do. That's what they do.
Exactly. And it doesn't just have to be about that project making money, but it's like, what models can be created out of that project? What new ideas can be done? How can AI be incorporated in with a project while still maintaining the viability of the income for the people involved? There are all these models that we've got to explore yet, and it would be good. But once again, I'm very negative about our politicians, so I won't go down that road too far. But that's something I would like to see happen, hopefully one day. And maybe if we all yell loud enough, it may happen. But because they have to remember that digital content, once again, is probably the most consumed product in the world.
Yeah.
You got a storm going on there, Nick.
No, that's
not me. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I just started. I was like, ooh, chill
So
out.
which area are you in?
I'm on the south side of Brisbane.
Okay, so you got the storm coming through there.
Yeah, so
Wow.
I don't know if it's going to
Wow.
reach you, Steve, but yeah,
Oh, Steve creates a storm wherever he goes.
started.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
Guys, is there any of your projects that you'd like to talk about? I mean, I thank you for exploring all these, as I said, pretty naive questions with me. But I just think that people don't often get a chance to think about what's involved in being an independent project developer and creator. And the things you guys have said have been very insightful. So thank you very much for that. But
I
yeah,
Let me just say, for a lot of actors here, uh, for so long, if anyone had real talent, they'd have to go to the US, to actually get into the game and make some money. So we lose a lot of our really talented people that way. And it's a shame. But
do you see that? Do you
what
see that changing as the industry does grow? Is there more? Are there more opportunities here than there were, say, 20 years ago?
I don't think so. But
Okay.
like way back, I go back a fair way, but like the 80s, 90s, there was a lot of opportunity here. They were doing lots of films. Um,
Oh, that's interesting because an outsider looking in, I thought they were doing more projects now, but they're doing more back then, you'd say.
that's how it seemed to me. Yeah,
Mm,
yeah. Um,
interesting.
Yeah, I think there is a lot being made here, but a lot of that is foreign stories, coming here, being made
Right.
here. You're getting hired as an actor, but you're doing a great American accent because that's the only way you can get on set. Like you're telling a story that's not ours. I think that's probably the thing about our industry and the reason that people do go overseas. It's almost like in the US, it's accepted that the film is big money. It's a big industry. It's a legitimate industry to get into. Australia doesn't feel as much that way. And maybe
And
so.
that's in
Maybe
line with what I was saying before. How I'd like to see that change, where all that potential of growth is there in the music and film sectors. If they could look at how we could develop the grassroots of that, I think that's a good thing. I wonder if, to Steve, it made any difference the fact that back in the 80s and 90s there was a lot more things being created by the TV networks. Would that
yeah, that's definitely true. Yeah. It just seemed
I
like,
remember when I was doing things up at Channel 7 back in the late 80s, it was like forever, there was forever filming projects going on, and I think they've stopped those altogether these days, haven't they?
yeah, it feels like that. There was a lot of television being made back then. A lot of people, directors, actors, they got their start in those shows.
Yep, yep.
Um, John
So have you
John
guys,
Bannis, the
sorry,
writer, he wrote for a lot of those shows.
yep. So have you guys got any projects we haven't spoken about that you want to highlight or profile or point people to?
I'm working with some producers on the east coast of the US at the moment. They've got a travel TV show. It's called The Other Side of the World, and it was a show that they had set up and funded back in 2020. They were all set to go ahead with it, and COVID hit, and they were shut down, and the project kind of went away. And then earlier this year, I contacted them and resurrected it, with a view to shooting the first season in Australia. And
Right.
so I've been um, talking with them now for the last 6 months about getting that show done here. And we've chosen a couple of locations to do the first two episodes at the end of September: Sydney and Alice Springs / Uluru.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they'll be sending down a show host, an American actress, singer, dancer named Tiffany Daniels, and she'll be hosting the show. And it'll be run and gun. It's nothing, not a huge budget, but it'll be a great project.
Run and gun, mate. That's got to be a technical term for the insiders, right?
Yeah, that's where you don't have time to spend hours setting up lights, and
Okay.
it's you're shooting on the fly most of the time.
Okay.
But
It's like the professional version of point and shoot, I guess.
Yeah, right.
yeah.
Well, well, mate, all the best with that. I hope that comes together. Love to see that. What about you,
Yeah.
Lucinda? You got anything you want to be promoting or letting us know about?
Just mainly the Serial Killers Anonymous at the moment. We're doing some fundraising, so we've got an Australian Cultural Fund campaign up at the moment. We've only just started that, so we're going to be spamming the absolute life out of that. And
now, the Australian Cultural Fund, that's the one where the money that is put towards a project is 100% tax deductible. Is that right?
yes, that's right. Yep. So any donations are tax deductible.
I'll get you to flick me the link for that if you don't mind, and I'll put it up on the screen for people to have a look at. And that's something people should know, whether you're a musician or in the film industry or whatever. It is a setup that is available for projects where you can. It's not like for your family and just straight friends to put into it. It's got to be something that's got to be people actually put into it. But it's not an investment. They're not investing in your project. They get a tax deduction with the money that they put in, and it's something that most people don't know about outside the industry. But if you're interested in supporting the arts, you're paying too much tax to the government, and you want to pay it to the arts instead of the government, come see the fund.
We'll take it. We'll help you with that.
Exactly.
Back in the 80s, they used to have it was called a B1 or something, some kind of investment you could make, where if you owed a certain amount in taxes, you could take that money and put it into a film project or TV project, and then you wouldn't have to pay the taxation department.
Yeah. No, I've known some people who've used that fund and very successfully, and that's one of the government setups. I think it is a government initiative, is it? Or
it was, yeah.
It's something that people should make use of. So please send that through, and we'll put that link up for people. Also, I'll put up your page, which had some of your acting stuff on there. Is that correct?
Yeah. I've got a website. I've got all of the things. I've got a website. I'm on Instagram. I'm on all the casting platforms, IMDb, all of that good stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, please shoot them through, and we'll put them up. Steve, same for you. I'll grab your contact details so people can see the projects you've done and worked on and everything, and your story and all that. And rather than looking at police reports, they can just look at it on.
Yep. There's a few of those police reports out there.
Yeah, we can joke about that between ourselves. Guys, thank you very much for your time. Lucinda, I hope you don't get washed away there.
Thank you. Yeah, it's fine. She'll be right.
No.
We're on stilts. We'll be fine.
Okay, it was a good bit of lightning and thunder before. Guys, thank you very much for your time and having this chat. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly have. And I hope it's given people a bit more of an insight to the life of indie filmmaking. And if you guys are up for it down the track a bit as your projects go on, if you could jump back on and let us know where you're up to and what's going on, I'd love to do it again if you're up for it.
Yeah, for sure.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So nothing I've missed here. We've covered most things, do you think?
Yeah.
I think so. I'm going to be honest, I don't remember what I put forward as talking points, so thumbs up for that. I'm assuming you had something in front of you, so.
Well, what we've missed today, we'll get next time, but all the best, guys. Thanks for your time.
We'll be putting the short film, The Passenger, up on YouTube soon, so
awesome.
Be able to let people know about that.
So if people are looking at your website, Steve, or Lucinda's, will that information be on there for them to find out when it is available?
It will, yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
It's a great little film. It's worth a watch, It turned out really, really well.
You sounded very excited about it when pre-production, when you're still putting it together and you're telling me about it. So I'm looking forward to seeing what your brain process has delivered.
Yes, it won Best Drama, Best Screenplay, and Best Director at that local festival here in Brisbane.
That's not bad for a first directing gig, hey?
Yeah, it's good, eh?
I think I can retire, actually. That was the consensus.
All right, guys. Thanks very much. We'll catch up again soon.
Thanks,
Awesome.
Nick.
Thanks, Nick.